Good evening and hello YouTube! Welcome aboard with Stormus-Furry biker on board Firestorm with a Y. I hope everybody's doing well out there, keeping it safe and the rubber side down, and if you're a fellow biker, legal. I cannot overemphasize that last one enough. Starting this video out as I always do with a huge shout out to Steve, Ken and Sue and the Bike Talk crew. If you're looking to do CBT, A1, A2, direct access, contact these guys in Nottingham. They are fucking brilliant at what they do. They are honestly fantastic. A couple of personal shout outs as well. Well, I say a couple, it's more than a couple because it's more than two. First one goes out to, now a couple of these are furry shout outs, you know, friends of mine in the furry fandom, or you know, if you want to get to know people in the furry fandom. First one goes out to Laura Kay of May Fursuits, very talented fursuit maker. Second furry shout out goes to Beauty of the Base Creations. Yes, Base is a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, that. And the final shout out before launching into the video goes out to Rossi Two Wheels. Now, I've seen quite a few people on forums saying that they're a bit nervous about riding in the rain or in wet weather conditions. You know, spending all year round commuting as I do on a motorbike, you know, you learn a few bits and pieces about road surfaces and road conditions and all that. You know, what you can and what you shouldn't really ride on. I mean, ideally, you want to avoid things like, for example, cold scarping, which is basically where you get tarmac joints over the road surface. The eponymous white lines, of course, you want to be careful on them. Metal grates, manhole covers, that sort of a jazzle. Road markings, you know, anything that can become slippery. Because bear in mind, you've got a very small contact patch compared to a car. Now, a car has got four nice big wheels and tyres on the road. On a motorbike, your contact patch is only going to be something like the size of a 2-penny piece. Now, a contact patch, for those not in the know, is the amount of tyre surface that's in contact with the road surface. Hence the name contact patch. So what can we do to ride in the rain as well? Slow yourself down. You know, give yourself a little bit of extra time for manoeuvres, in particular for braking. Because on a wet road, your braking distance is going to be a lot longer than a nice, grippy, dry tarmac. And I can tell you that from experience when I was on Misty. You know, I mean, I'm blessed with Firestorm in that she's got ABS on her. You know, anti-lock brakes. Misty doesn't have that. And I was coming up to a set of traffic lights one morning and the lights changed on us. I had to throw the anchors on, and I tell you, her back end was sliding around like anything. Anyway, there's a couple of sayings you've probably heard bandied around quite a bit. The first one is only a fool will break the 2-second rule, which alludes to the fact that in the dry weather you keep a minimum of 2 seconds distance between you and the vehicle in front. It's good practice. That 2-second gap is not for somebody to fucking just decide to bloody pull into because there's a gap there. And a modification of it is that if it pours, make it 4. I.e., if it decides to rain, make it a bigger gap. you know, to take into account the wet road, because as I stated previously, your braking distances will be increased. Other things to watch out in the wet, especially on newly laid tarmac, is you will get a lot of impurities leaching out of the road surface, so it'll make it a little bit more slick. And you want to be just riding a bit more gently than you would in the dry, you know. So again, forward planning, taking your time, slowing yourself down just a little bit, to take into account that you're going to have less grip. No matter how fucking good your tyres are, according to the manufacturers, you will have less grip in the wet than in the dry. I think the worst roads have got to be those that are slick, i.e. not wet, not dry, you know, they've got a little bit of a sheen on them. You know, a little bit, what we call greasy. So you can quite easily, if you lock your wheels, you'll slide. And again, in the wet, you will slide a lot fucking further. Again, you see what I mean here, the road surface a little bit damp. Normally I'll be filtering about 25-30 miles an hour. So I just slowed it down a little bit. Filtering just over 25. Just giving myself that little bit of extra time if I need it. Lean angle when you're cornering. You don't want to be cranking over as much as you normally would in the dry. Again, you'll reach your adhesion limit a lot sooner in the wet. So drop a gear, tip her in. Don't go through on a neutral, on a no throttle. Because if you go through with no throttle, you've got nothing to pick yourself up. Just use your throttle to balance your bike. And then pick it up just as you come out. You know, it's little things like that which will help you stay upright and not slip over. If something does happen, do not just grab a handful of brake. Like in your emergency stop, you know, when you do your CVT or your module 1, you have to take into account the extra stopping distance. And this is where forward planning comes in. In that if you're not forward planning, i.e. if you're not forward planning, then you won't be able to, you know, do the correct thing in time. Too many people will grab a handful of fucking brake in the event of an emergency. And if you lock your wheel, you're going down. Because unless you have learned, you know, what it feels like when your brakes are locking and your wheels are sliding, you won't know whether you've locked or whether to ease off. You know, it's something that you learn through experience. As I said, braking distances will be longer. Again, forward planning, it's started to rain now, so a little bit of forward planning. I've rolled off my throttle a little earlier, come up to a beautiful stop right on the line. In the dry I'll be able to push it a little bit further, you know, knowing that I've got a lot more grip under me. The road may look dry, but you never know what it's hiding. There could be the eponymous diesel spillages, or as I call them when it's really wet, road rainbows. They are one of the worst things that can happen to a biker, especially when you're cranked over on a corner. Diesel and oil, contaminants and that in the road surface, if you're not careful, will cause you to slide out. And don't matter whether you're at 10 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour, it's going to fucking hurt. So really, wet weather riding, it's about adjusting your riding to the conditions. You know, essentially, just ease it back a bit, increase your distances between vehicles in front of you. You know, and you know, a bit more full planning. because that will help you no end. That little bit of extra forward thinking, because that is what will save your neck. If you learn to forward plan in the dry, take it up another notch when you're in the wet. Again, I can see, you know, there's traffic's up ahead, it's stopped. Got this idiot, I don't know what he's doing, so just roll off the throttle a little bit, on the brakes, using my engine braking as well, shoulder check, clutch in, knock down through the gearbox, and come to a stop. And I'm starting to sound like a fucking instructor now, which I shouldn't be sounding like, because I'm not an instructor. But you know, you can see how my riding in inclement weather is different to dry weather. You know, so you know, really, that's all I can advise you for riding in the wet. Just slow it down, increase your forward planning. So, to sum it all up, when riding in the wet, yes, you will get wet if it's chucking it down. Try and make sure your visor stays clean as well, which is easy enough to do, because some gloves actually have a little squeegee built into them. Slow yourself down a bit, increase the distance between you and vehicles in front, because you know your braking is going to take you a lot longer. Your braking distance is going to be longer. You know, it's just common sense. That's all it is. And don't crank it over when you're going around corners, because you never know if there's any road rainbows there. So all in all, that is the end of this little video. So until next time, viewers, this is Stormus the Furry Biker on board Firestorm with a Y, saying keep it safe, rubber side down if you're a biker, and I'll see you, the wonderful people, in my next video. So until then, ciao, see you, arrivederci, and bye!